Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today, Masechtas Nedarim Daf Tzadik. We're going to begin on the bottom of Pei Testament Beis by a story of Hahu Gavra. Now, before we get into the story, we concluded in yesterday's daf that there is a question whether or not a person who made a neder, but it was not chal yet, it didn't actually take place because he made a condition, whether or not a person can be mefer such a neder. So in that situation, we have a machlokus between the Rabbanan, the Chachamim, who says you could still do it even before it's chal. Nonetheless, you could still be mefer. However, according to the Shita Rav Nossi, it says no, you cannot be mefer until the neder is chal. Okay. Now we're going to see whether this is also when it comes to she'ilah. We're going to see right here. So Hahu Gavra, there's a story of a person, the Itzer Hanyasa di Almale. He said that he's not going to get hana from any person in this world. Inotzav Isasa Kilo Tanina Hilchasa. So this person at this stage of his life was not knowledgeable in Torah, and therefore he wanted to make sure that before he would get married, that he would be knowledgeable and he would have learned various halachos, various sections of Torah. And therefore he said that if I end up getting married before that, then I'm going to be usher to the entire world. So therefore that was a way of motivation to force him to end up learning. Says the Ran, She'asr al atzmo hanas habriyos. He assered hana from the world. In the tzivna is if I get married, kilo tanina, if I'm not knowledgeable. He writes a limud Torah. He wanted to really learn Torah, kadam sheisish, before he got married. Kadesh li'isbatel machmasa. Because since he would be getting married, we know that coming along with that are a lot of responsibilities. As Kostik Barn Kedushin, literally you have this millstone on your neck and you're going to be learning Torah. In other words, when a person has all these additional responsibilities, it's going to be hard to, at that stage, start learning. And therefore, because of that, he said, I'd rather learn while I am free, where I don't have the same obligations and responsibilities, and therefore he made a neder to that effect. And he actually did exactly as he hoped for. That Rohit, he began running b'gapa v'tovlaya, with a stick and a purse. Says the Ran, it's shehishtadil b'chol koicha lilmoid. So it's an expression that he put all of his energy, he put his money, he put his stick, notice his power, and he ran. He did everything he was trying to do to be able to learn. However, he wasn't able to learn it. Says the Ran, he wasn't successful in his learning. So now he's in a lot of trouble because he's not capable of reaching this milestone of learning. But yet he also wants to get married. But now if he would get married without having learned, even though he tried to learn, but he wasn't successful, so then he'll be usher to the entire world. So also Rav Acha Rav Huna, the great Rav Acha Rav Huna, came up with a novel plan. In Vishavshe, actually as the Ran says, Hatahu, he tricked him, the Insiv Isasa, and he told him, yeah, it's okay, you can get married. Says the Ran, don't worry, if you get married, don't worry about what you said, your neder, it doesn't mean anything, you're not going to be usher to the whole world. And the truth is, he really will become usher to the whole world because the neder is chal. So why did he do this? He wanted to wait until the neder was chal. Why? Because now that the neder takes effect only once he gets married, only now is he able to be mater the neder, but not before. So this is what is coming to teach us, that you, like what we're discussing, you cannot be mefer a neder, or in this case, you cannot be mater when it comes to a situation where it hasn't taken place yet, because you didn't get married, so the neder is not chal. So even though we mentioned this machlokus of Rav Nosson and the Chachamim, that's whether or not you can be mefer a neder that hasn't been chal. The question is a Chacham able to be mater a neder? So according to Rav Acha bar Rav Huna, you can't. You have to wait until the neder is chal. As we continue at Sadim and Aleph. So what did he do now that he was married and he really is now usher to the world? He's not going to get hana from anyone. So he did a clever idea. The shark etina. So as the Rashi says, tach pana batit. He put his face in mud. He made this guy all muddy and dirty, and therefore it would be very clear to Rav Chisda that this person made a neder, and we need him to be matter this neder now, because this guy, because he's so filthy, he needs to go to a bathhouse, he needs to go to a laundromat in order to be able to clean himself. But the problem is he can't, because since the neder is chal, he's usher to the whole world. He can't get hana from anyone. So v'asal kimid Rav Chisda. So Amar Rava, man chacham amevid ki hay milsa. Who was the chacham who did such a matter, that he was so particular that he got the guy that got married, and he waited before anything took place, before he went in front of a chacham. Ilav the Rav Achbar Rav Huna the Gavar Rabbahu. He's a great chacham. The ksavar the chi heichi the pligi Rabban Rav Nasim hafara. Just as we mentioned before, that they argue whether you can do hafara before it's chal. Hachinami pligi b'sheila. Also, there's a machlokas whether or not you have to wait until it's chal in order for the chacham to be able to remove it. Okay, now therefore that's the point, that hafara is the same thing. This hafara is the same din as she'ela, and there's a machlokas. So therefore, so according to the shita of Rav Nosson, you can't do it. Okay. So let's look at the Ran on the top. Kadei l'haro shehutzarach labriyos altar l'kibos begadim. He needs to launder his clothing. They also argue here. Rav Nosson nami svirli b'she'elu dein chachamata elim kin chal haneder. You have to wait until first the neder is chal. Unihi granted the b'chai the pligi Rav Nosson rabbanon kaimel karabanon. Now, what's the whole problem? We pass like the rabbanon. The rabbanon hold it works because Yaakov Rabbanon charabim. Ihu lafuki nafshi miplukta hu de avid hachi. But he wanted to remove himself from this machlokas. V'haidoloi kamer Rav k'savar machlokas b'hafara of a b'she'el dibur hakol ein chachamater elim kin chal neder mechlal delo savar karab papi. Must be he doesn't hold like Rav Papi. Who's that? So let's look in the Gemara. Rav Papi Omer machlokes b'hafara. The whole machlokes between the Chachamim and Rav Nosson is davko or the hafara, whether it has to be chal before it can do hafara. Rav Nosson savar ein habal mefer elin kin chal neder. So we know that when it comes to hafara, you have to wait until the neder is chal. Why? Tichsiv v'charfa halavana. It says that literally the moon, there was cherpa, there was an embarrassment. Now, interestingly enough, that language v'charpa sounds a lot like hafara. It's very similar language. So, and the Rashi says over here, when do we have hafara? Bizman shechal bana hainu neder. So, which is actually the time of bana. It's built. The neder was actually constructed. It was neder, it was chal. Amnasan savar l'taima di oimer hanoider kilu bana bama. It's like as we said before. It's like you're building something. You've created something, which means it's chal. That's perhaps how Rashi interprets this. If you look in, okay, fine. So v'charfa halavana. So therefore, the pasuk v'charfa halavana means that you have to wait when it comes to hafara davka when it's something which is constructed, and until that time you can't be made for it. Rabbanan sabri bal made for alpha shaloi chol neder. No, it's not true. You could have it removed. Dechsiv made for machshavos harumim. That when it comes to hafara, it's even when a person has machshavos. Even just through machshavos alone is enough to be able to have it removed. In other words, even if it was not yet chal, that's how we learn out from that. Question 12. Eizo halacha mehilchas nedarim lamdu chacham in a pasuk mefer machshavos harumim. So chazinan the shaycha hafar b'machshav l'ad l'pika mafir nedarim alfi bishul chalu. We see that you can be mefer even if it wasn't chal yet. That's how the Rabbanan learn out from that pasuk. So according to Rav Papi, the whole machlokes is dafka when it comes to hafara. Avol b'she'elu when it comes to chacham. So it's possible he could have just held like him, that everyone holds they have to wait until it's chal. Says the Ran. What does it mean, lo yachel davaro? Lo yakor chalois davaro, that it cannot be removed. Alma ein chacham mater el imkin chal haneder. It first has to be lo yachel, means it has to first be chal. To remove it, lo yachel davaro, it first needs to have taken effect. So le misayle, So let's say we have a raya toward what we just said. Kainim shein in the handle of pliny. A person makes a neder that I'm not going to get hana from this person. Lomi eshel olav, or the person who will possibly remove the neder. There's the answering to the chacham too. Nishal rishoin. So if you're nishal on the first, yacha nishal sheni, and then on the second one, says the Ran, al hamuder mitakach neso al chacham, that once you're on the first, you become usher to the chacham shematiru. Afika chayis v'nishal. That's why you have to do it a second time. So once you're nishal on the first, now all of a sudden that causes you to be usher to the chacham, and therefore now you remove the chacham. Naviyam nishal. If it's true that he could do it before the neder was chal, it's you would say that both of them are what you should be able to remove. You shouldn't have to wait until it's chal to be removed. So it must be a proof that you don't need. You actually have to wait. Look in the Ran. Yelech etzel chacham the yomer ani hidarti Ruven mechnasai. I made a neder, Reuben, from my possessions. Vidarti gamkin oiso chacham. Also, I made a neder regarding this chacham kishi is shoyl afanav when he's shoyl. V'achshavani roitzli shol ifni ploni chacham. I want to be able to have it removed from this person. Mischaretani almashia sartiv bahanasi. I have charata that I answered him. Since you can't do this, therefore it must be a raya that you cannot remove, a chacham cannot remove this until the neder is actually chal. So Gemara says, Umi yoda ki ihai kama ihai batra. Does he really know who was first, who was second? Says the Ran, Dilma kikatani rishon masheni l'she'ela kaimer. Chinishal al ezemehen shiyar tzatchila. You could do whichever one first. Behu karli rishon ba'osu acher shenishal avachach karli acharoin. Okay. Elo lema masayle. So it's not really a proof. So we bring a proof in this way. Kainim shein in the henel pliny. Person first says, I'm making that I'm not going to hana from someone else. Then he says, Harini nazir, I'll be a nazir likashiesh olav, when it's basically removed. So nishal nidroi. So the din is you have to be nishal first on his original neder, v'acha nishal nizroi, then afterwards on the net on him being a nazir. Now v'yam nishal v'yishol chal neder. If you could just remove it right away before, so iboyal nidroi shil bereishi, iboyal nizroi shil bereishi. You should be able to remove the naziris first also because you can do it before it's chal. Must be you can't because it has. You have to wait till it's chal. So my answer is maybe Rav Nosson he. Maybe this is only the sheet of Rav Nosson that he actually is of the opinion that you have to wait until it's chal. Okay. Omer Ravina, Omer Li Meremer, Hachi Yemer Avuch, Meshmid Rapapi, Machlokes, Bahafara. The machlokes between them, whether you can be have it removed before it's chal, is only by hafara. But b'sheil divrei mayfair, b'afal pi sholochal neder. Even if the neder is not chal, so it's the other way around, as we said before. Now, when it comes to she'ela, everyone agrees that even Rav Nosson, that even when it comes shelo chal neder, when the neder is not chal, you could still have it removed. Yachol devaro, which means devaro, even words alone, they could remove. This is how the Ran explains it. Yachol devaro, don't focus on the word yachel that has to be chal, but rather devaro. Lamemer doy havi be ma'isa the devar davar ba'alma mashma. Just words, there's no chalais. Nonetheless, you could still remove it. The chacham can remove it even when it comes to something was not chal. Now, in halacha. So on this, the Ran says, K'Rabbanan. We hold like the Rabbanan. The Pligil had Rav Nosson, and the Rabbanan say you could have the neder removed. The Amri about Mayfair, Alpha Shulach HaNeder. Chada Diach Halacha Bracha Rabbim. Because we said before, because halachas like the Rabbim. And then we say Mihu Hanimili b'shetalta nidra b'davar shehiyasuya la'avaral tana. It's only in a situation where the person made a condition on something in which it could be it could be removed. Domi de'im oisani al pi abba ve'al pi avicha, like our Mishnah. Avol talta tana b'davar she'enu asuya la'avaral lav enu mei for el im kin chal haneder. If it's something which is in his hands that will to not fulfill it, so then you have to wait until it is chal. Question 13. Ma psak haran l'halacha le'inyan im chacham matir neder shedayin shelo chal. So, as the Ran says, even though we hold like the Rabbanan that you should be able to do it, im neder al tanai, if it's in your condition, your hands, shelo l'kaima, not to fulfill it, in chacham matir. However, im tol nidra b'yomim, if it's connected to days, devadi yochol. In that situation, it will certainly end up being chal near around shechacham matir. So it's totally on if it's in your hands or not in your hands. If it's in your hands to be able to fulfill the condition, so then the din is, or to not fulfill the condition, so then the chacham, you have to wait. The chacham can't be matir. But if it's neder's totally, let's say yomim, days, etc., so in that situation, he is able to. As we continue at Sadim and Beis, Lememra, Shaloi, Doloi Havi Bei Maisa, Doloi Havlo Bei Maisa. To say that there was no action. Okay, that's what the raya was over here, that even Dechsiv Yachad Avaro is, remember to tell you, Doloi Havi Bei Maisa. Even a situation where it's not chal, still the din is, you could still have it removed. The chacham could still have it removed. Okay. If you look in the top run, Indian she'ela, kaimon krab puppy, the armor machlokas bafara, abo b'she'ela divrachol, ein chachamata, elin kin chal haneder, l'chumre. That way actually goes strict. Abo ton devar b'yomim, kivan shesof esura lochol, alpha b'sholi chal adayin chachamatir. Okay. Weiter. Meisvei, so Gemara asked the question, kainim she'enin henel laponim l'mishanisholav. So a person made this neder. I'm not going to get hana from Ploni or someone that's going to be nishal my neder. So nishal rishon, first do the first one. V'acha nishal sheni. So my boyal high nishal bereishim, boyal high nishal bereishim. We said before, l'chor it's a raya. You have to wait until it's chal. So miodea hey rishon hey sheni. Again, we don't know who was first and who was really second. Meisvei kainim sheni nehenem v'hei. Harini Nazir, Likishetshol Nishal Nidro, first two on the Nether, Viach Nishal Nizroi. So Vamai, Boyal Nidro Nishal Beration, Boyal Nidro Nishal Beration. Again, you should be able to simply ask the question based on this that you should be able to do either one. If in fact you could do so even before it's chal. So Rav Nassan says that you have to wait until it's not chal. And the answer is tiyofta. You can't give the same answer before, since according to this lashon he says l'divri hakol it works, even Rav Nassan, and therefore since it's l'divri hakol, so therefore it's going to be a tiyufta. We're actually going to stop there. Tomorrow's a short daf, our last stop in this masechta. Okay, we saw questions 12 and 13. Let's see TA 4. Hahu Gabra. So it was this person, the Aser Hanyas the Almaleha. He was saying, I'm going to ask the whole world from me if I get married without having learned. So Madu Shavshi. Why did he trick him? What was the whole trick? So Rav Adamarava B'She'ela Nami Pligi. Rav Papi, let's say, is this the question? No. It's Kadesh Shiyachol Haneder. The Sfir Einishol Al Neder Ad Shol Chal. He had to wait until the neder was actually chal. And therefore, because of that, that's the reason why he said this. So he wanted him to end up getting married, and then afterwards he would be able to remove this neder. So again, it shows that he held, like the sheet of Rav Nassan, that you have to actually wait. Question TA 5. Rav Nassan Armel Yafer Madin L'Inin Shelos Achacham Kaidim Shachal HaNeder. So what is the din when it comes to that? So this we also saw. So this is, according to Rav Adamarava, Rav Huna, B'She'ela Nami Pligi. As we said, we see that he also argues when it comes to this. Okay. However, according to Rav Papi, so again, it's two opinions, three opinions. Either they argue also in the situation of she'ela, or when it comes to she'ela, everyone holds she'ela dibri hakol ein chacham mater klum el inkin chal haneder, or avol b'she'ela dibri hakol mayfair v'afal b'shalo chal neder. So there's actually three possibilities. Either you could always do it even before it's chal. Everyone holds like that. Everyone holds you have to wait until it's chal, or it's a machlokas in that situation as well. That was TA 5. TB 6. Neder al tanai im chacham yochel hatir af b'shul chal. Pretty much the same question. L'chad me'aner b'tolim b'plugta d'Rav Nachman Rabban av chachamim b'hafara l'chad me'aner kol yama einu mayfair. Okay, ad kan.